Hello everyone, we're going to present our corporate offer and market analysis of Handicap International. So here is our table of content for this presentation. First, we're going to explain you how we did for phase 1, our objective, and a little introduction of HI. After that, we have an internal analysis of HI, also a philanthropy market analysis, then a PESTEL and a SWOT analysis, and then our methodology for phase 2 and 3.
Okay, so before introducing Handicap International, we would want to clarify what we are doing exactly in phase 1. In this phase, we analyze the philanthropy market and HI's internal contexts. We then use the PESTEL framework to assess the external environment. Based on these insights, we build a structured SWOT analysis. The SWOT then forms the foundation for designing the methodology for phases 2 and 3. What is our objective? Our objective in this phase is very clear. We first analyze the philanthropy and corporate partnership market. Secondly, we assess what companies expect from NGOs. And then thirdly, we evaluate HI's current positioning within this environment.
Here are key facts to understand HI's context. First, 16% of people live with a disability. Exclusion remains high. 32% of children out of school and 7 out of 10 adults out of work. In many low and middle income countries, more than 50% can access rehabilitation. In conflicts, 90% of explosive weapon victims in cities are civilians, often with lasting disabilities. HI response is more than 480 projects in 58 countries, more than 3 million people supported directly, and more than 15 million reached indirectly each year through rehabilitation, protection, and advocacy. We reviewed HI's funding structure and the current weight of corporate partnerships. In 2024, HI network resources were 269.3 million euros, mainly from institutional donors. So 193.3 million euros are from public and institutional, 58.2 million euros from public generosity, so individuals, and 17.9 million euros from other private resources. Regarding trends, individuals are giving 5.5 million euros less than in 2023, while institutional funding give 16.3 million plus. Corporate funding remain limited in France. In 2024, companies and foundations and major donors raised 1.4 million euros versus 25.7 million euros from public funds. To conclude, corporate partnerships are not yet a major funding pillar compared to institutional funding.
So now let's move on to the mission, the vision, and the values of HI. So before analyzing the market, it is important to understand Handicap International's core identity. HI's vision is to build a world of solidarity and inclusion where everyone, especially people with disabilities, can live independently and fully participate in society. Its mission is to support vulnerable populations by improving access to essential services, protecting fundamental rights, and promoting dignity and inclusion. All HI's actions are guided by strong values, including humanity, inclusion, commitment, integrity, and professionalism.
Okay, so what is the challenge that we are now facing? Handicap International has been collaborating with companies for many years. However, the current corporate offer has become complex and insufficiently structured. At the same time, corporate expectations are evolving, especially regarding CSR, ESG, and measurable impact. Because the offer is not clearly segmented, it has become harder for other companies to engage. As a result, there is a growing misalignment between HI's current positioning and corporate expectations. To address this, we now need to better understand the market dynamics, which leads us to our philanthropy market analysis.
So let's move on philanthropy market analysis. So first, we're gonna see that environmental, social, and governance is becoming increasingly important for companies. Many organizations now integrate environmental and social impact into their business strategies. There is also a growing focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially regarding to the inclusion of people with disabilities. To improve their social impact, some companies partner with NGOs, such as in the Handicap International, to create measurable and meaningful initiatives. Finally, companies are investing more in social programs promoting inclusion, accessibility, and sustainable development. First, they want a measurable, transparent impact, meaning NGOs must clearly show the results of their actions. Second, clear reporting and accountability are important to build trust with corporate partners. Companies also prefer projects that are aligned with their CSR and ESG goals, supporting their sustainability strategies. They also look for employee engagement opportunities such as volunteering or awareness campaigns. Finally, many companies want long-term partnerships with NGOs, creating shared value and both sides. Then we have the opportunities and twist. After all of that, the opportunities is growing importance of ESG, the demand for impactful partnerships, employees engagement and programs shift toward long-term partnerships. But in front of that, the twist is higher expectation for measurable impacts, more selective corporate partnerships, the repetition risk, increased competition between NGOs.
Okay, so now we analyze the macro environment using the PESTEL framework. Politically, tax regulations and public funding priorities can shift quickly, since corporate donations are often linked to tax incentives. Regulatory changes directly impact funding flows. HI also depends on governments, the EU and the UN, while geopolitical tensions can restrict humanitarian access. Economically, HI operates with a mixed funding model. Economic downturns reduce private donations, inflation increases costs, and competition for humanitarian funding is intensifying. Socially, recognition of disability rights is growing, but there's also expectation for transparency and measurable impact. Aging populations and conflict-related injuries further increase long-term demand. Environmentally seen, climate change increases disasters and displacement, reinforcing operational needs. Legally, HI must comply with international humanitarian law, national NGO regulations, and strict data protection standards such as GDPR. Overall, HI operates in a volatile political and economic context, while social and environmental trends increase its relevance. These external opportunities and threats now form the external dimensions of our SWOT analysis.
So our SWOT analysis looks at two perspectives, the internal situation of Handicap International and the external philanthropy market. First, internally, HI have a strong assets like a solid reputation and experience. However, it still depends heavily on institutional funding, and its corporate fundraising offer is not fully structured. Then externally, growing CSR and ESG commitments create opportunities for partnership. At the same time, competition between NGOs, economic uncertainty, and donor fatigue create challenges. So overall, this what helps us understand where HI is strong and where there are opportunities to develop new corporate partnership. Then, based on our SWOT analysis, we designed a methodological framework for phase 2 and 3. First, in phase 2, we'll focus on analysis by mapping key stakeholders such as corporates, foundations, major donors, and wealth managers, and by analyzing the philanthropy and CSR markets to identify key trends and expectations. Then in phase 3, we'll translate these insights into strategy by defining a clear value proposition for companies, developing partnership models aligned with CSR and ESG goals, and creating an implementation plan. To conclude, phase 1 helped us understand the philanthropy market and Handicap International's position, and these insights will guide our work in phase 2.
This is our use of AI for this presentation. Thank you for listening.